Hello, 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 my name is Jack Blade and welcome back to my channel. We're playing Satisfactory today and we are doing another tips and tricks video. We are also in my beginner's guide world. For those who are playing along with that or watching the series, you might notice that there is a distinct difference, and that's because I've been doing prep work for the episode 9. Okay, so big thing here, we're doing blueprints today, and we're going to be looking at I need to make a ton of blueprints for the next episode, so I figured I might as well fold that into like sort of a masterclass for the for how to use blueprints and what you can do with them, and like some tips and tricks and all of that kind of stuff. So at the end of this video, the point is that you should be able to use the blueprint designer, vanilla or otherwise, to create what you want to create. That is the point. So rather than just showcasing specific designs and everything, I'm gonna try and help explain how to think in terms of how you design. So let's start out with the first section. Here we go. The first section we're looking at is what do we do to fix, or rather, how do we categorize? How do we sort our stuff? And when you're making a blueprint, there are, what is it, 6 overarching categories in which you can place any given blueprint at any given time. Number 1, architecture. We're looking at any kind of like visual design element that you have blueprinted to use at any given point. And then you have industry, which is like actual functional industry. We're talking constructors, assemblers, manufacturers, refineries, all of that kind of stuff. And then you have power-related blueprints, which is everything from things including like power towers, everything including, yeah, whatever it is. That's basically what we're looking at when we're talking about power, like making more power or transferring power. And then you have logistics, which is basically like moving either liquids or solids using pipes or conveyors in any way, shape, or form, splitting them up, load balancing, sending them up, sending them down, or just like massive like bus blueprints, whatever it is. If it's happening in the, like, I'm transporting like something physical, either solid or liquid, then you're looking at logistics blueprint. And then you have an adjacent category, but one that is slightly different, which is transport. And then we're looking at everything from trains, trucks, drones, tractors, like literally anything in this category. Truck, tractors, we're looking at electric locomotives, like the train stuff. You know, I would even argue that anything including like jump pads and like hypertubes fall into the transport category if you're making blueprints for that. So yeah, like that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, let's look at the actual blueprint designer. What limitations does it have? How big is it? And what can we do and what can't we do? So the vanilla blueprint designer uses, you can make 4 by 4. That's the maximum size of a blueprint in terms of floor area, but in terms of vertical, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, which is a 4 by 4 by 4, because it's 4 meters high, but one foundation is actually 8 meters side to side. It's twice as wide as it is high. So we're looking at 4 by 4 by 4 in terms of like 8-meter sections. And that means that the largest thing that you can possibly fit in here, if you exclude the foundations, you can't fit this if you place a foundation in, is a refinery. That's the tallest thing you can put in here. Because if you look at a refinery, you can see that it's just, I'm going to use my jetpack here so you can see that it's just underneath there, just underneath the limit. Which means that if you try to include any logistics that goes underneath, or even like, because of, you see how wide it is, you barely have any space in front or in the back. So if you're trying to make any kind of complex logistics, you might have to section these out and make different modules of them. Which is what we also wanted to talk about, that is like, what can I not place in here? You cannot place vehicles in here. You cannot place other blueprint designers. I can't take this blueprint designer and put in a model blueprint designer. It doesn't work. And then what else? Yes, when you are placing something, you are limited to these lines. And it's very important to know that if you try to place something in that has a any kind of protruding section, like you can put this in, but it might, like, you won't be able to put anything underneath it. So if you're trying to make any kind of logistics, you might have to create like the top logistics section, the bottom logistics section, left, right, up, down, like all of that kind of stuff. So you can have a bunch of different modules. They've fixed this now. Before you couldn't even place this in. Something that is also still an issue, I believe, is the pipe. These wall holes and floor holes, if they are close to the edges or the bottom, that might cause an issue. You might not be able to make that. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Otherwise, you have a lot of benefits. Because if you look at a foundation, when I'm placing it out here, you can see how big the snapping difference is. But if I do the same thing in here, the snapping is a lot smaller. That's because every little square, you can see those small dark squares here. That's a section that you can move a foundation in, which means that you can create a lot more controlled foundation blueprints. So, what is the next big thing? Like, what do we want to build in here? Well, when we're building something in here, we got to decide something first. And let me give you some examples. I'll be back in a second. All right, we're back, and I actually have a blueprint that I got to test out from one of the members of my Discord. And the guy's name is, or their name, I don't know exactly their gender, is Echo Monday, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is really, really hype about pushing the limits of what you can do with the Blueprint Designer. And they're completely right. You can do so much with this. It takes your gameplay to a whole new level. So, what did he give me? Or they give me? Let's be clear here that I don't know their gender. I can load the blueprint. Here we go. I am loading up the one they gave me. Here we go. Power connected. Let's see. I haven't seen this before, so you're watching it first time live with me now. And let's see what we have here. These are Mark IV belts, which is lucky, though I just unlocked those. If I hadn't unlocked them, they would still be put in when I loaded the blueprint. It doesn't care about your unlocks, so that's something to keep in mind. So for me, that would have been like, okay, now I'm breaking my own world's lore, if you want to put it that way. And then upstairs, we're looking at... Okay, so there's a bit of a load balancing situation, logistics going on underneath, and then on top you have a general, and this is what we're talking about, the different what are we doing kind of things. General blueprint. So that's the first type we will be talking about. It is basically a general modular blueprint, which means that it's not set with specific recipes. It doesn't have a specific part or a specific factory in mind when it's being constructed. It is just made so that it is easier to generally construct a factory that then uses all of these four constructors. So that by just mass clicking, I can easily get like 4, 8, 12, 16, like instead of replacing them 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a massive time saver, and then including like having run the logistics already, there is a very big benefit to that. This is the input over here, if I've understood this correctly. So resources get put in here and then go over, up, and then in to the system. So from the middle here, it goes over and split into this, and then over here, and then this, and this. So it's nicely load balanced, so you will have the same amount going into that one, and that one at the same time. We're not using manifolds in this blueprint. And you can see that he's using the maximum amount of space he's allowed in the width and depth, or not necessarily here. That's really cool actually, that he was able to make something that fit into this. Yeah, exactly, the front. Made something that fit into this that like it looks really nice. It has this like brutalist factory look to it, and like I said, this is a modular general thing, which means that it's not meant to just this is the whole factory, and then that's when we move over to the second type of blueprint. And let's me clear the designer, and when you clear the designer you can load blueprints here. When you clear the designer, all of the parts goes in here. I can take all. And what I've done here as well is I've put up towers so that it's easy for me when I'm building stuff, that I can like construct from down here and work from underneath, but I can also work from up top using these towers, making it easier for me to run lines and stuff like that. So yeah, and then we move over to the next type, which is a one-click factory, and I'll show you exactly what that means. We are back. I have just thrown together this one-click factory, and I want to demonstrate what it does. So on this end, you pretty much throw in iron. You can see all of these are smelters that process iron into iron ingots, and they process way more than we need. I literally just threw this together so that I could show you guys. And then on this end, it's collected and sent up one floor, and then over on this floor, when it comes up, it goes out here, it's split, it goes into that smart splitter, and out into that smart splitter, and then here you can see it makes cast screws. This is an alternative recipe, iron ingots straight to screws, because we need screws for this. And then it goes into iron plates and makes iron plates, and then those screws and iron plates are sent up straight into an assembler. Alright, as you can see, and this assembler then makes reinforced iron plates, which means that in one click we process the iron, we make the parts to make the final product that we want to be made. This is what the concept of this is called a one-click factory, where the entirety of the factory is taken care of in one click. Now, what I've done is like I've hooked up the power so that the power comes in from one end. The surplus iron is all sent like over here, so that you can use that. You can like plug it into something else. I've made it so that, okay, plug power into this node, and then suddenly all the machines are powered and on. If you plug in the iron ore here, like you need to plug in 150 iron ore and it's fully functional. Done. That's it. That's a one-click factory, and very simple to then place down. If I go in here, I pick blueprints, here we go. I can then press H to double check, hey, have I placed this correctly? Do I want to rotate it? That's a weird rotation. Blueprints, let's just grab you again and place you down. You can see in one click, the entire factory is done. That is the concept. And then if you want to remove a blueprint, this was added in now in update 8. You press F and then R, and you remove the entire blueprint in one click. Done. Gone. Now, the third concept is a specialized modular blueprint, which is kind of a mix between these two. In the first modular general blueprint that our friend from the Discord, Echo Mande, gave us, it's a blueprint that you place into any factory where you think that that setup specifically works best. And that's basically what it's made for, and it's kind of like, if you make these in the beginning, you kind of like set yourself like, okay, this is the style of factory that I will be building. And then this one is like, this tends to be like early game, or like I just need a minimum production of XYZ parts. One-click factories are really good, but they are kind of limited in terms of capacity, and they're not super friendly to use unless you have the right alternative recipes. So that's why these are not necessarily like that's their weakness, so to speak. They're good for like low-level production or low-quantity production, but they're not really good unless you get to the third part here. I'm going to clear the designer, and I'm going to talk about the last part here once I am set up. All right, I chose to use Echo Monday's blueprint here once again to show you what a specialized modular blueprint would look like. Okay, so imagine that you need 16 of these constructors, and they need to specifically be making iron plates, right? So I'm gonna copy the settings and I'm gonna paste them across all of this, right? And I need 16 of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have very specialized blueprint. Like this is only made to produce this. But that's just step one in the process, right? Because let's say that I also then have a blueprint that I have set up to make cast screws that I also need because I need to make a bunch of reinforced iron plates. So I have two blueprints, one that is named like Echo Monday 4 constructor with logistic floor, something like that. And then I append the name with iron plates, screws. And then I use that and I place down, let's say over here, I go with like, I place down all the screws or all the iron plates. And over here, I place down all the screws and they're being produced and then they're moved over. And then I have another blueprint with a bunch of assemblers on it that are set to make uh, reinforced iron plates that are matching the setup and logistics and like layout of my like this and like where I'm placing it. Like how much space do I have? Am I building vertically? Am I building like down? Like what am I doing? And that makes it like very specialized to this specific factory and to the specific like recipes and the specific like everything that you're planning on using in one specific place. There's a lot of specifically there, specific. And the idea is to make sure that you build your specialized factories, that they don't come out like all looking the same or all working the same, or like that every time you try to play the game, you're playing the same game over and over again. That they are unique factories for you, but they are way faster to build. Like you take your time and you spend the extra energy it takes. Like maybe you add some extra decorations or lights or signs or whatever it is. Stuff that if you were to do it like 5,000 times over would take too long and be too much energy and like all that kind of stuff. You do this in one go and then you just have that done and you just place out whatever you need. I can say like that is the method that I will specifically be going for. Most likely because looking at the factory plan, I actually need something like, just quick counting here, 200 machines in my next factory for the beginner series. So the idea here is to have a very clear and easy replicatable but unique looking thing for my factory. So like I won't be using this specifically, not here at least. But the idea is pretty much the same with just like how you connect it up to the rest of your world. That's what's important. So then we move into the last section of everything, which is modded blueprint designers. And that's where we get into the really funny part. Because I will be mixing and using the vanilla mostly, but I will need to use the modded ones. Now, what am I using when I'm doing that? Specifically, I'm using the Blueprint Designer Plus mod that gives me a myriad of new and interesting blueprint designers to use that are larger and like differently shaped than the vanilla one. The coding in the vanilla or in the blueprints, in the modded blueprints, are the same as the vanilla, so you don't need to have the mod installed for the blueprints to work. You can just copy them over from another save if you want to use them, but play in a vanilla save. Okay, so this one is 4x4x4, or like 8 meters. Sorry, what is that? 32 meters by 32 meters by 32 meters. And then we move up one step. I'm gonna show you here. The Mark II is like 32 by 32 by 32. And then we have 48 by 48 by 48. It's literally just like a slightly larger. It adds 2 more on every side in terms of like how many foundations you can fit. And then you have the Mark III, which is over here. That is 64 by 64 by 64. That's twice the volume as this, which when we're speaking about volume means that it's quadruple the volume. And then the 4.1, there are 2 versions of this. The 4.1, let's see you over here, 80 by 80 by 64. So it has the same height as that one, but it has a larger like base area. And then you have the variant of that, the Mark 4.2, which is lower than the 4.1, but has a larger building area. And then you have the one that is like, this is gonna say break your save game trying to use level of Blueprint Designer, which is not even visible here. It's so large that like I couldn't just place it here. I had to make it my own platform, like an extra platform for it. So up here, we got the Mark V. This is insanely large. And this is the, let's see, how large is this one? The Mark V is 176 by 176 by 96. And they actually add a warning to this one. Let's see, what does it say? Please use only if you really need to. Use on your own. Just do not report any issues with this designer. Basically, this is so large that it's gonna cause issues. So I don't recommend using this one. I just wanted to show you because it's like magnificently large. And then other than that, what we have at our disposal are these ones. And mainly I use this because I want to keep it as vanilla-esque as possible to play. But I also know that when I'm designing specifically for the refineries, I will want to use these larger ones because that means that I can fit logistics floors and stuff like that into the blueprints. I can't do that with the vanilla one. And so that's why I'm going to be using some of these for some of the blueprints. And yeah, so in the end, how you use the blueprint designer is very, very unique to you. And I would say from every designer or from every save, always save your favorite ones in like a special folder. And it's very easy to like just Google up like, hey, where are my blueprints saved? Look that up, grab the blueprints you want, and put them in a special folder. And then every time you start a new save, just place in your favorite blueprints. That is a great way to make sure that you always have your best working ones, the ones you're proudest of, the ones that like help you the most. I tend to have a bunch of them that helps me get through the like one-click factories that helps me through the early game. And then sorry, there might have been a weird cut there because we had like the air raid preparedness alarm test going today. So yeah, basically what I will do now is I will make a couple of these blueprints and I will get you back in when I've done a couple of them and I can show you how I've been thinking and what I'm doing and what I'm planning for. So I will be back in a few seconds for you, probably a couple of hours for me. So I'll see you then, and in the meantime, get something to drink. I know you haven't drunk enough today. Alright, so I'm back after having made the first of many blueprints that I have to make, and this one is specifically for the concrete in the factory that I'm making using the refineries, which is a new unlock. And like this is overall just part of the a sneak peek into what episode 9 is going to be about. But yeah, as you can see, it's going to be using an alternative recipe for concrete called wet concrete that uses limestone and water to make concrete, right? So no weirdness, no mush, no fuss. The only thing is that I have to be considerate of the logistics being both liquid and solids. And I have to consider like, okay, how can I balance the like resources coming in so that they are correctly balanced, and I give you my weird janky load balancing using smart splitters here. And then I have to consider which direction is the liquid is coming in from, based on like where am I gonna place this blueprint over on the actual like factory and like that kind of stuff. So yeah, like basically this means that if I have to like adjust or if I am doubling down and like, okay, I need to double up how much concrete I'm making, I can easily do that. Which is the entire point of the blueprints. It's to make things easier. And it also means that I can easily just place this down. I don't have to do that, because if I make a mistake with the alignment or anything like that, I can literally just like delete the whole thing and move it over a little bit and then try again. This is the best part about blueprints, the fact that you can just dismantle the entire blueprint in one go. So yeah, basically, using what you have learned here about blueprints, I encourage you to try out making a few of your own and start building your own library. There is a metric ton of them on the Satisfactory calculator website that you can download and put into your saves and try out as well. So yeah, and if you are curious what this will look like in the end and how it will work, come on over to the Beginner's Guide series, where I will be working on this factory in episode 9. So see you guys then, and otherwise, as usual, leave your comments if you have questions or opinions. I'm happy to hear all of it. And if you want to have a chat about blueprints, join us in the Discord. So have a nice day, night, or wherever you are, and see you in the next one. Bye!